we unleash that potential that they might not see in themselves, and we show them a little bit of a way to be able to get there, it kind of unleashes that potential that they don't quite see yet.
Jonathan, thank you for coming and doing this with us today.
Glad to do it.
So, how long you been with Ford?
I started in 2010 when my dad called me back into the business.
What were you doing before that?
So I went to school for architectural engineering at Penn State University, worked in that field in project management with Rycon Construction, and then went to visit my dad. He was going through an aortic valve replacement at the time, and he convinced me that this was the right path that I needed to go down to take over the family company and, help take us to the next level. I can say it was one of the best moves that I ever made. Being able to, come into a family-run organization and transform it to, where we're taking this thing from a technology aspect is something special.
You've grown with the business, but it started with this, you got to come back, here's all the reasons why you got to come back, and by the way, I'm your dad, so you better come back kind of deal. How has the way in which that sort of direct communication that brought you back into Ford played through into the way that you communicate with the team? Do you emulate that at all in the way that you now steer the ship?
Yeah, with some modifications. So when my dad was around, I don't know that we shared a fair amount of the measurables that we look at now and aligning everyone's mentality on really driving towards those goals. So the big difference between a small business and, call it a professional sports team, football team for that matter, is the football team's focused on winning that game. They have the scoreboard at the end of that game that kind of tells you, who won and lost. And, the season progresses, you get into the playoffs and ultimately the Super Bowl. That's the clear-cut victor for that year. So we wanted essentially that scoreboard for small business to gauge whether we were winning or losing against our competitors. So being very transparent with the numbers, sharing KPIs that we were hitting that maybe you looked at from a financial aspect or, high-level people look at in companies. We share that with each individual. We're very open with our books. We share financials. We'll open that up for any one of our team members. I think it's important for their growth and their career progression to show them what that looks like, and maybe you get something out of that individual that aspires to be in finance or aspires to be in another aspect of our business that can help push us to the next level.
So it sets the roots for their potential future leadership trajectory.
Very much so.
Was there anything you take from that experience of rejoining and not learning from zero, but learning from a half?
Growing up in the business versus
actually functionally operating it, that flows again through to the way that you make sure everybody out here on the floor is educated?
I kind of got thrusted into it in 2010. Yeah. If you look back from when the company was started in 1991, the whole industry's really changed. It's taken an IT focus, so coming back into it, I remember the days of old when we were setting up copiers and doing a lot of that stuff out of the house or wherever our shop was at the time, and coming back into the business and putting that IT focus and that more network-minded focus, and it was a big learning curve from that end. And then as our company got more mature, focusing on the growth of the financials and what does that look like successfully, and joining peer groups and understanding from a lot of that. So that's translated a lot into putting these goals in front of our team, as I mentioned, previously, and helping them step up, developing their leadership. So we're really big on making sure that our team members are, giving back to the community, get involved with the board. I think there's something critical and, important to learn from that. You can spend time there and dig into financials, and it's not your day-to-day grind. So you're kind of removing yourself from, understanding our day-to-day business. In devoting those services to a nonprofit, to the local YMCA, to whatever that may be in your community. So we encourage that, and I think you grow that way as well. Another thing we do is we assign readings. So our leadership team does a quarterly reading. It can be anything from a Napoleon Hill Think or Grow Rich to a David Goggins book. I think you got to continually be gathering information from outside of the area and putting it to use, and continually sharpening the tools that you're given in life.
Right.
businesses thrive based upon the decisions that our team members make every day, coming in and doing their job to the fullest of their ability. You know, when we unleash that potential that they might not see in themselves, and we show them a little bit of a way to be able to get there and maybe provide a little bit more for their family, it kind of unleashes that potential that they don't quite see yet. I encourage our entire leadership team to push an individual that they see as close to that border and, you know, take them to the next level.
Whether it be in educational programs, whether it be in sharing data, sharing numbers, I'm interested to have you give your thoughts on the various ways in which not only is investing in your team important, but the ways in which you do it.
So, you know, some of the ways that we really try to make an investment in our, you know, sales team members is we have continual training. So when we're in it every day, it's tough to see, you know, what the goal is or what you need to critique. So we have a third party unbiased sales trainer that comes in and invests every other week in our sales team, does one-on-one coaching, and really kind of helps maximize their potential outside of that traditional, you know, manager team member mentality. It just helps them, give them a little bit different perspective in how to grow. We do continual training with, you know, making sure that on the service side, our team members are prepared to run into any situation that they might have with a client, whether that be a paper cut installation on the software side. On our managed IT side, there are, you know, an abundance of software applications that are either coming and going. They need to be prepared for that scenario when they run into it in the field. So when we make an investment in someone coming on board here, we need to make sure they're trained up. So whatever it takes to get them to that level, be it off-site training, on-site training, coaching, mentoring, we're not afraid to make that investment, you know, just to make sure that they're prepared for any scenario that they might run into to better serve our clients.
Family important. It's how you got in here. It's how this whole thing started.
Yeah.
How does that feeling of togetherness, does it blend into the culture? How does it bleed into the ways that you nurture this team? Is it similar at all to the way in which you were brought up and developed?
Yeah, similar. Not exact. We try to get down to that level of, you know, knowing each individual, you know, on a different level. When you go into battle with someone, you need to make sure that the guy next to you, you know, has your back. On the service side of our business, we're typically not going into a scenario where everything's rosy and perfect. You're going into a scenario on the, you know, office equipment side where someone's got a problem. So you're coming in there, you need to de-escalate that situation. So you need to make sure that you have that good relationship with the, you know, the team member you're going in with. So as we've grown, that's something that you really need to keep focused on, making sure that these people are aligned. So we do a fair amount of team building, just outside events, company picnics, get-togethers, ad hoc happy hours, whatever it is that keeps the communication going. So, you know, one that comes to mind this past year, we went down to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we had 200 of our team members, family members, and friends down there that all got together and helped build that camaraderie. You know, they get to know each other a little bit more, and so that when you're going into battle together, that matters. We do Fireball Fridays, so it's a little bit unconventional.
What's that about?
Yeah, so a little bit unconventional there. We like to have a good time with what we're doing. You know, one of the things that, and my father passed away at 60 years old, and life's too short, so you better enjoy it here. And I truly feel that if, you know, the more that we enjoy it together, the better face that you're putting on to go out and serve our clients. So we do Fireball Fridays every Friday in between 2 and 3 o'clock. It used to be 3:30, but it seems like it keeps moving up and up. We just do a toast to the week, our successes, and, you know, celebrate those times. It's just too short, so you might as well have some fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, I guess so. What do you think that does for the team, holding large, over-the-top events like that all the way down to a Friday?
Yeah,
or something like that?
Yeah, so work hard, play harder mentality. You know, we want to kind of celebrate what got us to this success point. And, you know, we share that with clients. You know, one of the events that we do every year is an over-the-top Christmas party. So a couple years ago, we did it down in Pittsburgh, and it was a cowboy-themed bar where we were giving prizes away for who could stay on the mechanical bull the longest. Those kind of things, it just really sets us apart from what competitors do, and just the thoughtfulness that goes into it. When we do team building events, one of the things, we hire a professional photographer. It might sound simple and silly, but I don't like our team members standing behind their phone trying to capture the moment. I want them to be in the moment. We'll capture it for them. So we'll encapsulate that. We'll take tons of pictures. But for the extra, couple $100 that it is to hire a photographer, I'd rather that moment be captured by us and you enjoy it with a fellow team member. You enjoy it with your family. The other thing that I learned in our industry is the days of old where they did these over-the-top trips for, the ownership of the company. I learned something from that. You can do a lot more scale, and they could provide a unique experience that you wouldn't be able to, enjoy on your own. And if we can do that for our team members, it's just one more way that we're able to kind of give back, outside of monetary pay, and just create that unique experience for them. So one of our focuses are on the individuals, growing them, someone in leadership. It's, like a three-legged stool. So the first one is, obviously you've got to, your home life family's got to be right. Second thing, I think you mentally, physically, and you got to be right. And then the third part, work's got to be right. So if any of them fall out of whack, it just kind of, it tumbles over. So that's kind of the perspective that we look at it from, the leadership aspect of how are we helping this individual grow. And you got to make sure that all three of them are in line to make sure that individual's in a position to take the constructive criticism that that they need to get to the next level. We have 133 team members here. I don't know everyone's individual issues that they might have or come into on a day in, day out, week in, week out basis. So you got to rely on putting good people in place that sense these things, that sense someone's a little bit off, and then can make a modification. But it could be something behind on a rent payment, just a death in the family, a financial setback, whatever that might be. But just recognizing that aspect, and then putting measures in place. So we have an internal, we call it the Giving Fund, and we fund it once a year. The whole philosophy of this was my dad, being that family company, when someone was down on their luck, he would notice it. When we were only 25, 30, team members total. And my dad was the one, he wasn't a big credit card, debit card person. He had cash in his pocket. So someone was a little bit down on their luck, he always sensed it. And he would have that conversation within, peel off, here's $200. And it doesn't fix the issue. It just, it helps make it a little bit easier, bearable for the person that's going through it at that time. So the Giving Fund was set up as we grew in team members that a manager might recognize and go to our HR department and discreetly make that recommendation. A lot of the funds that are given out throughout the year, I don't even know about anymore, and that's something I'm proud about. It shows that we're still people. We got to make sure that individuals right, and everyone's got a burden that they come in the door with every day, and we got to make sure that as a team that we recognize that and help that individual raise above the day-to-day struggle that they're in.
Could you explain what getting back to the basics means for Ford, why you chose it as the theme of the year, and how it's manifested?
Yeah, so with growth, it leads, we had, I think, 46 new team members come on board last year, and with that, out of 133, approximately a third of these people are new. They're not used to our family culture. They're not used to the previous 31 years of what this was. So it was critical this year that we get back to the basics. One of the simple things that we did, each one of our leadership team members was going to do a ride day. So we have 7 in our leadership team. We did 7 in Q1 ride days. Owners of the company would be jumping on the box truck. I went out with one of our team leads on the service side up in the Hermitage, Youngstown area. And just getting back to going out and handling a client issue, understanding what our team members are going through on a day-to-day, and are we providing the right tools? Almost like an undercover boss, but
they know you're there.
We're not quite that large. So before we get to 250 team members, before we get to 300, I think it's important that we don't lose track of where we were or who we were when we came, and set out to give that unparalleled experience to our clients when they signed up with us 20 plus years ago. Back in 1991 when we started, it would be jumping in the car and going out there and fix it timely. They're out of tone or whatever it was, off hours, anything that it took to go a little bit above and beyond to make sure that our clients were served the right way.
Mm. Can you give a recent example of a mistake that you had to own? What was that process like?
We do, probably not just us, but a fair amount of companies make assumptions, and that's something that we want to make sure that we stop before we get out to the client. When you make assumptions, you're not on the same page with what the client's expectations are. Often leads to in the moment bad experience. So you got to do your best ASAP to own it, fix it, don't do it again. So that accountability that comes with owning it is a tough thing. It's okay to be wrong. And when you encourage that openness here, we've never straight up terminated someone because, outside of something heinous. I can't say. Yeah. So you just gotta own your mistakes. You gotta be humble enough to be able to accept that, and we'll rally behind whatever that mistake was. We will fix it as a team. And the third part of that is you need to learn from that mistake and put measures in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's actually one of our core values under accountability is own it, fix it, don't do it again.
It seems clear that you have this big program of things, both in training and investment and in events, everything to make sure that you are curating the best possible experience inside these four walls. But it's probably also important to talk about some of the things you do outside these four walls.
Yeah.
Not servicing clients.
Yeah. No, you're right. All of those things that happen, from a team building to a client experience, that all happens in here, and that's all, so you can give a better client experience. The human aspect of it comes in too, and we've only been given so much time here on this world. We need to make sure that we're producing better stewards for our communities that they live in. So, from the teams up in Erie to Hermitage to Youngstown to Bedford to Altoona to down here into West Virginia, where we're at now is encourage them to get involved with a board, a nonprofit. We allow each one of our team members a volunteer day, if you will. So we do 8 hours that we sponsor that they can go and give back to a community event. So United Way, we have frequent requests that it's not just the monetary give that we provide as a company. It's making sure that our team members can go and be involved with something, and not have to bear that burden of where's that day's pay coming from. So we sponsor that for our team members to be able to give back as well.
Why should somebody work here?
Our culture drives what we're doing here, from making sure that a team member's engaged, making sure they're heard, to showing them the career path of what they could potentially be, even if they don't necessarily know that right out of the gate. When you're trying to find that right fit, I think it's important to look at a company and see what they're about on a deeper level. I encourage anyone out there interviewing to get to know a little bit more about that company, the leadership style, what what KPIs are going to be in place for them as they come on board. We're very clear cut with that. We have a knowledge and an idea of what success looks like for that individual, and then push them towards that growth path. And the other thing is our growth over the past couple of years. We're fun. We're growing. We're challenging individuals to reach their maximum potential.
What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Hoo-wee. I'd say the thing that I'm probably most passionate and proud about is just watching the growth of our individuals here. Putting together one killer solution for our clients. So just watching what I envisioned a solution being, and someone else bringing up a way different idea than what I had, and just watching that thought process come together and being put together, and just being able to serve that on a platter to our clients, and just watch that experience and watch that kind of grow. So it's the whole thing. Growth, on our company side, growth in our leadership. So just continually not staying still and just compounding growth.
So that gets you out of bed. What keeps you up at night?
I've been sleeping very well. It's amazing what, once you're developing leaders within your organization, what they'll take off your plate when you give them that opportunity. So letting go of some of that control used to be what kept me up at night. And will it be accomplished to the same ability of, what I put the passion into it, and seeing how much better it is now that I've turned it over. So sleepless nights are few and far between. Anymore. We utilize the EOS system, Entrepreneurial Operating System. We implemented about 3 years ago, and it's based upon a book that we read. Again, continual learning. And when we read it as a leadership team, Gino Wickman wrote it. It's called Traction, and I think it's probably one of the best things that propelled our business growth. It allowed me to kind of elevate to looking from a higher level at what the company should be, putting those clear-cut goals in place, and really aligning everyone here to strive for those goals.
You came back in here in 2010.
I did, yep.
Okay. So through that 13 years of leadership, what is something that you weren't even thinking about at the beginning that has become incredibly important over time? Something that was around the corner that you didn't see coming, a value that you found that you had either undercounted or not seen, but something that with time, only time, could help you personally see and then develop, change on, adapt, emulate for these people?
Yeah, it'd probably be more in understanding the potential of individuals' talents and what they bring to the table, and being able to align that. It's a tough question because you grow every day. And what looking back on what growth was whenever I joined the company in 2010 is way different than what I look at growth now and, see our potential to be. If you would have told me in 2010 when I joined that this is where you would be, from 133 team members and, revenue size, to what it is now, it's a way different path than what I envisioned it was, in my head in 2010. So looking back on it, it's, kind of just enjoying the journey that it took to get here, and the conversations, the people that have come in and out of my life, and, that just those experiences, and probably the same with the company. It's just watching that kind of morph into what it is and what it can potentially be. My vision of success is way different now. I mean, we're a lot more focused on that. We want to serve 10,000 clients by 12/31 of 2030. So we set out a big 10-year picture 3 years ago when we embarked upon this EOS model, and it's just helped everybody kind of grow and flock towards that. So the brighter days are ahead. I think those weird, awkward phases of leadership that second guessing yourself, and you always have a little bit of that, but the picture ahead of us is a lot better, a lot clearer, and I believe everybody here believes in where that's attainable, and that we can achieve it.
13 years since you stepped back in. I want to project out 13 years.
Yeah.
Where do you see this business in as much time from now as you've spent with it?
Yeah, it's exponentially different. I mean, the past 13 years versus the next couple, it's just completely. The past 3 years, we've been averaging close to 35%, 34 and change percent growth year over year, and the biggest portion of that is our managed services or IT services. When you look at it, it's just a whole different expertise and skill set, and a plethora of product offerings that we're able to help and come in should the client allow us, we help them thrive, from security offerings to outsourced help desk services to simple staffing solutions on the IT side. I didn't expect that a few years back, even as recently as 5 years back, to grow as substantially as it has and to make such an impact on our business. What it's helped us do is implement other things on our traditional copier printer side of our business and give our clients such a better experience. So from remote deployment, because we now have IT expertise to come in and do remote deployment whenever we're installing a fleet of printers or copiers, to looking at some of the statistics that come in. I've had a jam 3 times in one area. We often know about it ahead of time, than our clients do. And then, just having a paper cut expert on staff, because our IT has flourished so much, it's given us a different breadth of, talent that we never had before to solve an issue from Active Directory or something that was going on with a paper cut solution that helps run a fleet of, office equipment. We just have that expertise to be able to manage that all in-house. When we didn't have that 5 years ago. So seeing that exponential growth that's probably the most fun thing that I've experienced, and eye-opening, I guess, over the past couple of years.
Well, thanks for coming on here with us.
I appreciate you taking the time and share.